welcome in hockey fans in the desert Southwest. It's welcome back to hockey 2020 NHL style. Seth Askelson is with me. As you can see, we're sitting here in socially distant. We've got our Gator masks on, doing a little promo for the podcast. We're here at Gila River Arena, so thank you to the Arizona Coyotes for bringing us in. And we got our two best friends joining us. They're kind of silent, but Oliver Ekman-Larson and Shane Doan are joining us just to make sure we keep everything on the up and up. And we're here to talk the return of NHL hockey. Seth, you've been out here at the arena for the better part of a week now as training camp restarted, but let's talk about your thoughts in the restart of NHL hockey.
Yeah, I think I'm excited just like everybody else, but also at the same time, it's what's going to happen health-wise, right? Are they going to be able to keep players safe? You have such a wide range of results when it comes to these sports leagues who have already entered their bubbles. The NBA, very strict. Guys aren't even coming in unless they test negative. Rashawn Holmes leaves the bubble. He's got to quarantine for 10 days. Whereas with the MLS, I mean, teams were preparing to leave, and then they stopped their flights, teams testing positive. So the MLS, already in their bowl, they've already started their welcome back kind of tournament, and three or four of the teams aren't even there yet. So even though this is already an unknown, you have results, and even those results are kind of all over the map. So it'll be interesting to see. I think with the NHL, it's a little more difficult. You're not like the NBA or the MLS where your hotel and your playing surfaces and your practice surfaces are all in one campus, right? For Edmonton and for Toronto as well, you're staying at two different hotels in each city, and you got to walk over the arena. I mean, not that you'll probably get bussed in, right? I mean, they're not going to risk that, but it's still right. Like the hotel staff who make sure the beds are clean and the hotel is clean and the food is done. I don't think they're going to make them stay in the hotel for the next month and a half, right? They're going to go home at the end of every night, and that can cause a lot of, not havoc, if somebody does get sick, it can cause havoc, but it just increases the risk. So it'll be interesting to see the NHL, I think, a little more unique. But ice hockey is unique, right?
Yes.
It's not something you just, especially here in Arizona where it's 111 outside, it's not something where you just step out like basketball, like football, and kind of play wherever. You have to have a surface, you have to have a facility that can keep it up, and especially for these NHL players who, during the playoffs, ice conditions are a little notoriously complained about just across the country because it can get warm, even in places like a Boston or Pittsburgh or Toronto. And so you have to have the best facilities. I mean, the Rogers Arena up in Edmonton is only, I believe it's 3 years old now. Right. Toronto has one of the best facilities in the Scotiabank Center. So two great facilities, two great cities in a country that's really handled the pandemic a lot better than I think in the U.S. I know you and I talked on the podcast over once the talks were first coming back, Vegas could be a city and LA could be a city, but just because the cases haven't really gone down, you have to go up to Canada. So it'll be interesting to see, and health-wise, hopefully everything stays well.
Well, it's about to get underway. It's less than 2 weeks away until they start playing exhibition games. Ironically, the Arizona, I don't know if it's ironic, I think the NHL fully knew what they were doing. The Arizona Coyotes and the Vegas Golden Knights will face off in an exhibition game, which I think will be really, really exciting, especially since we cover both teams, both franchises. But then it starts for real, right? And the games are going to start quickly. They're short, 5-game series, best out of 5, I should say, so you got to win 3. Your thoughts on the way the structure is for the return to hockey, NHL style?
Well, that's the best you can do, right? There's a lot of teams that could make a case. I think they made the cutoff, at least in the Western Conference. It was pretty clear, right? The 3 California teams were out of it. The Blackhawks were close to out of it. I mean, the Coyotes, honestly, were 2 points out of the Blackhawks. So you're able to you can make that case for the Blackhawks, like, hey, they could have had a chance, even though they were kind of fading. Coyotes were fading a little bit, but I think they made the cutoff point right. In the East, a little more difficult. I think there's a lot of teams at the bottom. I mean, obviously, Ottawa, Detroit are the teams that aren't in. I mean, New Jersey had a really tough year as well, but with Montreal Montreal was probably about 10 days away from being officially eliminated themselves. So, I mean, it's the best you can do, though, right? Like, they put the teams in that could make the case to say, hey, we had a shot. We had a shot to come in. So, it's what it is, right? And I think it's good that you're getting the top 4 teams to play seeding games.
Right.
Because there was a lot of worry of, okay, well, if we don't have these top 4 teams play, right, almost give them a bye. Well, what are they going to do when the games start, right? Like the Coyotes win their 5-game series against the Predators. Well, whoever they're playing, they've already played at minimum 3, at maximum 5 more playoff level games than the team that has sat on their butts. So doing a good job with seeding, I think teams are really going to compete. Even though it's not the home ice, I think guys take pride in being first place in the Western Conference, or being first place in their division, whatever it may be. And so the interesting thing, though, is going to be the exhibition games, because I know Vegas, they're going to compete. I don't want to say that. But they know that the games that they're playing, they're already into the next round. They're just competing for seeding, whereas the Coyotes, they want to get geared up immediately. They want to get to that playoff level intensity right away. So are the Coyotes going to come out? Are they going to start burying goals? Are they going to play a lot more physical than Vegas? Is Vegas going to consider, if they want to tag Murray as a starter, they're going to go Leonard? Are they going to play a different lineup than what they normally would? So, I think they're going to try and get their guys ramped up, but it's definitely not as urgent as the Coyotes need to get ramped up for their 5-game series.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And one of the things that we talked about since the pandemic hit was the NHL has really taken a lot of precautions and a lot of steps. We didn't even know if there was going to be a season, and now here they are putting this all together. And kudos to the NHL and to all the teams to bring as many teams as they have into the fold, if you will, and keep them active. Right now everybody's just waiting for that first exhibition game, and then to watch 6 games a day for however many days as they get through the qualifier round. As I think back, and the pandemic has messed up everything for everybody, but I don't know that the NHL could have done it any better than they've done it, at least to this point.
Yeah, it's like we talked about. It's not the NBA, it's not basketball, it's not football, it's not soccer where you can keep it on one spot. There's not, Lake Placid would be a decent idea, right? We talked about that on the podcast where you could kind of have that as a campus, but I think they picked the right cities. 24 teams is perfect, and they have it. What I like is they have it even, right? It's the same format in the West and the East. Not that any leagues so far have not had it, but with the NBA, they're kind of finishing out their season, whereas the Coyotes or the NHL and the Coyotes are jumping what's essentially into the playoffs, right? They're not playing 8 games amongst each other to figure out, okay, who are the top 8 teams like the NBA are. They're jumping right into the playoffs. So I think that gives the NHL an advantage as well, because in the NBA, there's a lot of teams who have clinched playoff spots, so that's kind of seeding. But look, as much as I want the Suns to win and get in the 8th seed, them and right, exactly, and maybe to a certain extent teams like the Memphis Grizzlies, where they're really far out, they're going to have to win almost all 8 of their games. Like, some of those games aren't going to matter at the end, whereas for the NHL, the first game that counts is going to matter to the utmost importance. So not only have they done a good job with the safety precautions and setting up the tournament and making sure their arrangements are set, but they've done a good job in terms of marketing, where game 1 is as important as any game.
Yeah, exactly. And we mentioned the hub cities, Toronto for the East, Edmonton for the West. We understand there was a little flooding problem up in Edmonton and Rogers Place, so hopefully they get all that taken care of. I'm sure there is contingency plans if they need be, and they still got a little time, right? It's another week of training camp, and then they hop on the plane and they head up to the hub city. Before we jump into the next segment and start talking Coyote specific, which you've been out here for the whole week, let's talk a little bit, and quickly, I guess we've only got a couple minutes to go in this segment, but let's talk about just the safety precautions in Edmonton. What are you hearing safety precaution-wise from the team? I know the broadcasters aren't going, they're staying here. Nobody really media-wise from here is going up.
Right. I think they're going to try and contain things. When you see leagues like the Major League Baseball, they have guys coming in, they sit in the press box, everything's done via Zoom. I have a feeling that a lot of times around 3 p.m. In the next couple of weeks, I'll be on a Zoom call after some games, and I haven't really heard too much in terms of what media is going to be. Obviously, there's going to have to be some sort of camera crew. You saw I believe it was called the Basketball Championship or the basketball tournament on ESPN. They were playing in a bubble up in Ohio, and their broadcasters were actually sitting in their respective homes. And the audio was great. With the way technology is, you could broadcast a game from the moon and it would sound fantastic. So I haven't really heard on what that's going to be like. Like you said, none of the broadcasters from here are going to go up, though the first round is going to be broadcasted by Fox Sports Arizona as well as the first exhibition game. So obviously there's some sort of plan at least in place or thought about, and it'll be interesting. I haven't heard anything about that, but I think TV-wise it's going to be fine. But obviously you have to have some sort of camera crew there, right? It'll probably locally sourced, just like any other NHL televised game. And But in terms of broadcast, it'll be interesting to see, right? I mean, this is a new time for TV stations. I mean, even for us specifically, right? To understand, okay, what are some innovative ways we can broadcast sports, or even just have broadcasts in general? And so I'm interested to see how NBC and Fox Sports Arizona and all the other local regional networks handle things like this.
All right, let's take a quick break. This is the Sunday Special. Welcome back to NHL Hockey 2020. Scott Strandy, Seth Askelson with you. We'll be right back to talk a little bit Coyote specific on the Sunday Special presented by Bell Ford.
Looking for your next car? Head out to 2401 West Bell Road in Phoenix and stop in at Bell Ford, the Arizona Ford Giant. Come in and check out our great deals on the remaining 2020 Fords, as well as the new 2021 models just arriving, like the new E450 pickup truck during our summer outdoor and SUV sale. Voted the #1 Ford dealer in Arizona by Ranking Arizona, we will do what it takes to make your car buying experience safe and convenient. Shop online at bellford.com. We will bring everything to you on your schedule. Schedule a test drive. Need a repair? We'll come pick up your vehicle and bring it back to you. Our sales and service professionals are ready to help in any way to make sure you are happy and satisfied. Go online to bellford.com or call us at 1-602-866-1776 and let us show you why we've been the dealership that keeps Shane Doan coming back year after year. The Arizona Ford Giant, Bell Ford.
All right, welcome back in, hockey fans in the Desert Southwest to the Sunday Special, and it is special because it is the welcome back to NHL Hockey 2020 special we have going, presented by Bell Ford. Seth Askelson is still with me. Seth, we talked in the first segment about the entire Hub City thing and the NHL and how they're getting everybody together. Let's step forward now and let's talk specifically about the Arizona Coyotes. As I mentioned earlier, you've been out here for an entire week now, keeping track of what's going on via Zoom and being in the building and seeing the guys on the ice. So let's start right there. Training camp in July started last Monday. Your thoughts when you first came out and saw it, how different was it for you? You've seen training camps before, but how different was this one?
Yeah, I think usually with training camp you see fans in the building, especially in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Where they're trying to build the fan base, they're trying to get people excited about hockey, so they open the doors, of course, and the fan aspect isn't there. Usually we're on the side of the benches, and that isn't the case. We're on the opposite side, on the hard camera from TV side, away from everybody. Everything's done via Zoom, so definitely different, but the players are here, the compete level is here. And really when you think about it, in July, this is about the time where they're doing the prospect camps and some of those rookie camps, and so I don't think it's too strange in terms of seeing hockey at this point, but definitely a lot more higher skill and guys that are going to be playing in the NHL than you would normally see in this building in July for a camp.
Okay, so I made the comment several times to anybody that would listen to me that I think this will be the best playoff the NHL has ever experienced, as long as there's no pandemic-related effects. And when I say that, the reason I say it is because these guys are coming in at top level. They're all healthy for the most part. They're excited. They've been away from the sport that they love that was taken away from them, in mid-March. Now they're coming back. So has there been anything different on the ice specifically for the Coyotes that you've seen?
I don't know if I've necessarily seen anything too different. I think the compete level is a lot higher, right? I mean, the grind of the season where it's 82 games and you're on the road, and I think that benefited the Coyotes. I think they were starting to get worn down a little bit in that aspect. Obviously, injuries played a huge role too. So I think these guys are a lot more energized and refreshed, but that's really around the league. But it's good for the Coyotes because they have a lot of top-end talent that is refreshed, right? Taylor Hall. Phil Kessel had mentioned during his interview last week, this is probably the most injured he's been, though he did play all 70 games this season. So he had a time and a chance to heal up some of those nagging things that he was able to play through, but maybe was slowing him down a little bit. Getting Ronta and Kemper fully healthy. Look, again, injuries are going to play a role in any playoff and any hockey, but that's the thing. You have a fully healthy roster, like it's the beginning of the regular season, and you're playing the most important games of maybe your careers at this point. So for the Coyotes, Stanley Cup championship experience, Brad Richardson, Phil Kessel, Rick Tocchet, Alex Goligoski when he was with the Penguins in 2009. two goaltenders that are probably at the top of their games right now. John Chaik has said that he thinks it's the best goaltending tandem. I can't disagree with that. I mean, maybe Dallas has a better one, but Khudobin, I think, is having an outlier season rather than a norm season.
Right.
So, I mean, the Coyotes' best goaltending tandem in the league, top talent that's refreshed, Stanley Cup playoff experience, Stanley Cup championship experience. It's a good combination. We'll see if it all comes together up in Edmonton.
All right. What I took away from a lot of the Zoom calls that I've been hearing about is the fact that guys like Oliver Ekman-Larsson went back to Sweden almost immediately after the pandemic. Sweden didn't shut down. He had a lot of time on the ice. I also am finding out things about him and others that, he was coming off of a knee surgery, and he maybe didn't feel 100%. Phil Kessel said he was fighting that groin injury for a long time. Now they all seem healthy. And I don't know. I mean, my expectation is that this team will be much better than they were when the pandemic hit.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the hockey culture, and whether you believe it's right or wrong, is to play through injuries. And if you can skate and you can go, you should go. But it's also an 82-game season. And I think teams like the Penguins, when they won one of their Stanley Cups, the second in a row in 2017, where they got off to a real bad start and then turned around and ended up winning the Stanley Cup. And that's where you almost want to tell your guys, like, look, I get it. Like, you want to be out there, and the heart, and especially with OEL being named captain. I mean, how much flack would he have gotten? He's named the captain in the summer, and then game one he's not ready to go, right? And whether that's right or, I mean, personally, why would you, right? It's a guy who's a professional athlete who had knee surgery. God knows I know I wouldn't be able to skate after a knee surgery. So, I mean, I think some of the pressure was on him, but I think that's where maybe this is the time you reflect, right? Like, hey, okay, maybe I rushed into it too quick. Maybe it affected my play, and I think the Coyotes would have taken a 5 or 10 game stretch without Oliver Ekman-Larsson to have a fully healthy captain who can play to the best of his abilities instead of a guy maybe who's at 70-80% that can contribute at certain points but maybe isn't as contributive as he could be. So I think it's good because now I think we're really finally seeing a fully healthy Coyotes roster, something we haven't seen even at the beginning of seasons before, right? Raanta missed the opening game and a lot of time during his first season in the Valley in 2017-2018. He was hurt again last year, and so I just think it's one of those things where the Coyotes are able to finally be fully healthy, and they're finally going to see what this fully healthy roster looks like.
Okay, so you saw week one of training camp. It's Saturday as we tape this right now, so the week is over with, if I can say that correctly, with the training camp. Now there's another week, and then it's up to the bubble, and then it's focus on Nashville. So let's talk about Nashville. Is Nashville, from what you heard, as prepared as the Coyotes? Are the Coyotes more prepared? Are they less prepared? What are you hearing?
I mean, I think part of it is these are two small market teams, Sun Belt teams that don't get the attention of Toronto media or some of the bigger media outlets. So it can be really hard to gauge, if you're not following national media and just kind of looking in. I mean, I think they're ready to go. I mean, it's a team that a lot of those guys had been on that Stanley Cup Finals team from 3 years ago. Guys like Roman Josi and Ryan Johansson and guys like that who understand what it takes to get to the end. But I think for the Coyotes, I think they're a little bit faster. I don't think that forward group is as quick as the Coyotes have up front. I mean, Connor Garland, Taylor Hall, guys like Christian Dvorak who have some of that physical size that can match up with Ryan Johansson. And I think down the middle, the Predators have the advantage. You got Johansson, you got Turris, and you got Matt Duchene. But again, I mean, Kyle Turris and Matt Duchene, two guys. I mean, Kyle Turris, a Coyotes draft pick at one point, and I mean, two guys who were supposed to be stars and maybe haven't lived up to that star billing. I mean, still solid NHL players. I don't want to take away anything from them, but I mean, Duchene has had his, whether fair or not fair, kind of been labeled as a bad locker room presence, and anywhere he goes, the team doesn't work really well. I mean, I think Nashville was starting to figure out a little bit at the end of the year once we got, down the stretch before the end of the pandemic. But you remember, I mean, they fired their head coach. They fired Peter Laviolette, a guy that is one of the most, if not the most successful U.S. hockey coach in history outside of maybe John Tortorella. I mean, each of those guys have won Stanley Cup. But if a team like Nashville, where Peter Laviolette has put some teams that maybe were improbable into the Stanley Cup final, Carolina where he won, that Philadelphia Flyers team in 2010 where they got in on the last day of the season on a shootout goal. And then the Predators, who snuck into the playoffs, beat the Blackhawks, got to the Stanley Cup final. I mean, if that costs him his job, I mean, that's a team that maybe it doesn't have it all together. And so it'll be interesting. John Hines, the head coach, got fired from New Jersey earlier in the year. I think he helped turn Nashville around, but does that affect them, right? Like, do they have the right coach in place? So we'll see. I mean, with Vegas, we didn't know if they had the right coach in place with Pete DeBoer, but I definitely think those temperaments have calmed down a little bit. So for the Coyotes, I think they're a little bit faster, maybe not as deep in the center position, but defensively and goaltending-wise, Pecorino has not had his best season at all. So who knows? Maybe this 4 months has gotten him a chance to reflect and heal up if he was hurting. But for Nashville, I think they're going to be ready to go, but we'll see to what extent, right, when things get going.
All right, that's as good a wrap-up as we can give you, folks. Another week will go by. We'll hope that everybody stays healthy, both on the ice and off the ice. We'll see them up in Edmonton. It's going to be different. One thing that's going to be nice, though, is there will be multiple games. There'll be 5 to 6 games a day once things get rolling. We're going to have a podcast special going on for you. You'll be able to see a podcast every night from August 2nd until August 9th. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. Seth, thanks for stepping in and joining us on the special. And we'll be back with you in about a week or so to update things again. So that's it for another Sunday special presented by Bell Ford. This one, welcome back to NHL Hockey 2020.
Looking for your next car? Head out to 2401 West Bell Road in Phoenix and stop in at Bell Ford, the Arizona Ford Giant. Come in and check out our great deals on the remaining 2020 Fords, as well as the new 2021 models just arriving, like the new E450 pickup truck during our summer outdoor and SUV sale. Voted the #1 Ford dealer in Arizona by Ranking Arizona, we will do what it takes to make your car buying experience safe and convenient. Shop online at bellford.com. We will bring everything to you on your schedule. Schedule a test drive. Need a repair? We'll come pick up your vehicle and bring it back to you. Our sales and service professionals are ready to help in any way to make sure you are happy and satisfied. Go online to bellford.com or call us at 1-602-866-1776 and let us show you why we've been the dealership that keeps Shane Doan coming back year after year. The Arizona Ford Giant, Bell Ford.